mean, I certainly give them credit for achieving something, but it remains true that they are way out of line with the public on this. The public does not want to shut the government down, and the public does not want to defund Obamacare. So to the extent that Republicans align themselves with the Tea Party's aims, which the entire party has done at this point, they risk being up with the general public.
Bill, I've heard from a lot of Republicans off the record, as I'm sure you have. They don't want this to be going on. They don't want the debt ceiling thing to be going on either. Do they want to defund Obamacare? Absolutely. But they don't like this. What are you hearing? You have better Republican sources than I do.
A lot of those Republicans are the same Republicans who thought Mitt Romney ran a brilliant campaign, and you don't need to actually fight, and every fight you get into is going to be a replay of 1996 where Republicans lost. I think, to pick up on what Molly said, I think what's really encouraged, for all the grumbling, the reason the Republicans have hung tough, have stood pat, and are going to, and are going to continue passing these small pieces of legislation funding parts of the government, is that everyone a week ago, everyone said, disaster for the Republicans. Stock market will probably crash, the country will be up in arms, the polls will be skewing wildly against the Republicans, every Republican congressman will be under intense pressure at home. That is just not what's happening.
It's true.
I'm not saying this is a brilliant strategy. I'm not saying I would have quite recommended going this way, but honestly, empirically, right now, the Republicans feel that they're much better off than they were a week ago, and they have created problems for the Democrats. These small funding bills that they're passing, it's not so easy for Senator Reid to explain why you shouldn't fund NIH because he would like to fund everything all at once. The administration also has made some mistakes, don't you think, with the closing down the World War II memorial. Now they're not going to show the football games and the baseball games this weekend on Armed Forces Network. You know, they're trying to make a point by showing how tough the shutdown is, but it makes the Obama administration seem a little petty, I think.
John?
Yeah. I mean, when you shut down the government, when Republicans choose to shut down the government, it shuts down. And the World War II memorial shuts down. And look, I mean,
World War II, you've been to the World War II memorial, right?
Yeah.
What's to shut down? It is open. It is on the mall. They had to build a fence. Do you think that was the right thing to do? To build a fence to keep people out of it? It's a 24-hour open space.
When you don't have security guards down there, when no one's picking up the trash, when no one's, when there's no bathrooms, I mean,
you can't let elderly World War II vets go to the memorial because
which we did. We let them go. Here's the 95 and 96 when there was a shutdown. Everyone's like, oh, they didn't shut down open air memorials then. With barriers up over the Lincoln Memorial in 1995. This happened before. We have Republicans now. When Clinton was president, there was a shutdown.
Bill Clinton signed legislation.
When you shut down the government, the government shuts down.
During the shutdown, he didn't take the position of President Obama that I'm not talking to anyone. Yeah. I'm grateful, honestly, that President Obama is in the White House and not President Clinton, who I think would be outmaneuvering the Republicans at this moment. And luckily, it's the B team of the Obama administration. If people like Favreau and Axelrod and Gibbs and Emanuel were there, I'd be a little more nervous. But now they're dealing with the successors, and they're just not. John, tell us, what do you think?
It's the White House team, or do you think that it's a feistier House Republican caucus?
Well, it's both, but now it's a fight. I mean, Senator Reid has been very tough in holding the Senate Democrats, and I think, just as a matter of news, the thing to watch for the next 2, 3, 4 days is, can he hold Senate Democrats refusing to vote on these small bills that the House Republicans are passing? It's just a tough thing to explain, I think, why they're not bringing up these mini funding bills.
I just don't see how we're going to let House Republicans decide which parts of the government we fund and which we don't fund. So we're going to restore veterans funding, but then women and infants and children on nutrition, we're just going to say no to them.
They're passing that this afternoon, if I could just say.
So then, what about the Head Start?
The WIC stuff they're passing?
What's that?
The WIC stuff they're passing for the
children this afternoon. I think they're going to do government employees. Look, it's not a way to govern ultimately, is it? But for a week, would it be better to have WIC, the Women, Infant, and Children program, functioning or not?
Entire government open, because we don't want to have piecemeal programs funded, then have on Head Start have nowhere to go. I mean, the Republicans shut the government down. The government shuts down when that happens. They can open it up right now if Boehner held a vote, and that remains true. That's the.